unless you have something that's knit. Everybody had to make their own clothes unless they were very rich. Then they could buy them and have them made. Couldn't just go to the store like we do today and get clothing. So they would, this is a very simple form. And this is just a matter of weaving up and down, over, under, over, under, over, under. And a loom would be larger than this, but this they would just sew together. There are other types of looms. There's tape loom. It makes tape. Cording.
It's a little tough to demonstrate because actually, you can help me out to sew that. And I'm going to pull on it, so hold it tight. Alright, I would be sitting in a chair, and this would be in my knees. Now if you notice, every other string goes through a little hole, and the other ones go through a slot. So when I move the material up, I have a space above those stationary strings, and when I move it down, I have a space underneath. So to weave, I move it up, pass it one way, so the thread goes over, the thread goes over the stationary string, and I tighten it up, and I move it down, and now when I go back the other way, the thread goes under the stationary string, and it makes cloth. And every loom works that way. You go over, and then you go under. All right, it's a little awkward without being able to hold it tight. Hold it tight, yeah. But this is going to be a sash, like Mr. Clinton is wearing around his waist. Same type of thing. We also, I need that. I'm sure you've all heard of knitting, which is another way. It's not truly weaving. It's a way of linking threads together to make fabric. And most of you are probably wearing T-shirts, which are made out of machine knitting. But, and to knit, you do one stitch at a time. If you look at your own clothes, you have little tiny stitches. But when you hand knit, you make much bigger ones. You make a stitch, slide it off, make another stitch, slide it off.
Most of you are wearing T-shirts. Those are knit. Very finely, but they are knit.
That material is all knit on a machine, of course, not by hand. But in the 18th century, in the time of the American Revolution that we represent, there were no machines that did that. It was all done by hand. How many of you have a closet that's not quite big enough for all of your clothes? Yeah. Back then, you probably would have had 3 outfits. You know, unless you were very, very rich, you would have one set of clothes to wear, one set of clothes to be in the laundry or to be mended, and something to wear for best, to go to church on Sunday or to wear to a party or a special occasion. Clothing was very, very valuable. It was so valuable that people would write, when they wrote their wills and they were getting towards the end of their life and they wanted to let everybody know who was going to get all their stuff, they would put their clothes in their will, and they would say, my son John can have my best coat, my daughter can have, you know, if it was a mother who would be giving her petticoat or her gown. It was all very specific about who got it, because it was hard to come by. Everything, fabric was all made by hand, on a loom by hand, and if you were well-to-do, you could buy it. You know, you could buy fabric that was made on another continent, but most people couldn't. So they either traded for it or they made their own. There were If you look around here, there are several spinning wheels when you get to tour the house. There were what was called itinerant. Itinerant means people who traveled. There were itinerant weavers who would carry their looms in a wagon and would go from house to house, and they would set their loom up all year long. The ladies of the household, the mom and the daughters